Well, I guess the bewitching hour has arrived, so let us proceed. Hopefully Rachel will join us. So I will call the meeting to order. And first and foremost, welcome our new select person liaison member to the Finance Committee.
Francine, hi.
Francine, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you. Glad to be part of it. And I do have to compliment you on the information in your last meeting that transpired, and the information in your minutes was great.
You can look at Mary when you say that. She is.
Yes. I'm going to recommend from now on that the select board members read your posted minutes. Honestly, they're very insightful. If they're all like this one, I mean, I only had a chance to read this one, but they were great.
They have been.
And they have all the attachments there too.
All the right questions, all the right answers. Good.
All right. Move along to solicit any public comment, oral or written, received or anticipated.
I did not receive anything.
Okay. I guess I would ask a question about how we handled that specific item in the future, and only because I witnessed at the select board meeting that at the end of the meeting there is a call to ask for any input from any of the public. So that may be in as regards any items that have been talked about during the meeting that were not brought up, but someone wants to make a comment before we adjourn. So I guess I would open that for comment.
So are you suggesting we should put it at the end, closer to the end of the meeting than at the beginning?
Yes, or
Yeah.
both, or both.
Or both.
Francine, that is I did see that correctly, right?
Right. Yeah, that's how it's done. Again, it's fortitude, because sometimes those meetings are 3 and 4 hours long.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if someone really has something to say that it may not be on the agenda, having it at the beginning, if they choose to leave, they can leave. But if it's a specific agenda item, having it at the end makes sense, where they can make a comment.
Okay. All right. So
Ed, what do you say?
It can go in either place, and I'll, it really just depends on the preference of the committee.
Okay. I'll put it back to the committee. Any thoughts, Mary? Barbara?
I prefer it at the beginning, because I wouldn't want them to people have to stay through the entire meeting, go through administrative stuff with us, giving them opportunity to provide comments at the beginning or the opening of the meeting. That would be my preference.
All right. So what about any public viewing during the meeting that might have a question?
Well, number 11, wait a minute, is it 11? 11, yeah. Any other pressing business, they could put it there if they had, after, as we went through the meeting.
And you're also asking about during, while you're having the discussion. I guess it would be the discretion, right, Ed? Whether or not you want to take a question, or do you not?
Correct. It's actually the chair's discretion of how much interaction that can have during the agenda.
How does it sit with open meeting? How open is your meeting if you're not going to take comments?
You don't have to take any comment during the meeting. That's your meeting.
Okay.
What's open is the discussion that you're having.
What's that?
Right.
What's open is the discussion that you're having.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right, so is the consensus to leave it the way it is?
I would like it to stay where it is.
Okay, Barbara?
Yeah, I would too.
Right.
That makes sense.
All right. Item 3, approval of the minutes, January 25.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of January 25.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Barbara?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chair is aye.
And I'm going to abstain this because I was not in attendance at the meeting,
Right.
but I love the minutes.
So recorded. All right, item 4, review the FY21 expenditures and revenues. Ed?
Did Mary send them out to you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So are there any questions you have on them?
I do have a question.
Hey, Mary?
Yes, I have a question on page 1.
Yep.
Under the town accountant expenses, there's new expenses of almost $4,000, and I'm assuming that's the vendor warrant for the temporary town accountant. Is that correct?
You would be correct. And then we're keeping track of those, and what we will do and basically when we get to the May-June timeframe and can do interdepartmental transfer is we will transfer those funds out of the accountant's salary into the expense account to cover those.
Follow-on question. Underneath the assessor's consultants line, there's a charge or an expense of $5,300, but
Right.
it doesn't say what it's for. There's no nomenclature. So do you know what that is? It's $5,324.75.
You're right.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and take a look.
Thank you. Then on page 3, I just have a question with regards to the public health expenses.
Excuse me, Mary, can I just bring up something while we're still on page 1?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
The election registration expenses are up 2 times what they were last month. And why would they still be lingering?
And it's one thing I'm going to have to take a look at when with Lucy, because the other thing I noticed that there hasn't been anything charged to election registration wages. So it may be that just some of these got charged to an incorrect account.
Okay, yeah, that would, $4,500 would cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Technology services. That's not an annualized number. That's as they occur.
That's it. That's as they occur. That's correct.
All right. So is that a concern? We're 87% already expended. Not that it's
a bit of a concern, and that's it's one of the pieces that with having to pick up and pay somebody to do our take care of our town website, which wasn't originally planned as we had a volunteer doing it. It's eating into that, so that's a bit of a concern.
Okay. Mary, you on page 3?
Yes, on page 3, under the Human Services, the Board of Health expenses, there's only 87 cents left for the next 6 months of the year. So I'm wondering, has anyone reached out to them to find out what their expected expenses are for the remainder of the year? That's something we do as the Finance Committee?
No, the select board has actually reached out to them a couple of times.
Okay.
But as the year's going on, at least to this point in time, it looks like they might actually have some extra funding left in the Sharps program for this year.
Okay. All right.
So those are interchangeable?
At the end of the
Well,
year.
You'd have to do a transfer at the end of the year.
Okay.
And the last question I have is on page 8. It's the planning board. I know you indicated on the revolving funds, they start with what is in their kitty, basically, what they've accumulated from year to year. Well, they had $2,800 in their account, but they've actually spent $4,000 on one line item. And then on the second line item, that's a planning board peer review is an add, an additional $2,000. So my question is, where does the revenue come for that $3,200 deficit or shortfall? If they only had $2,200.
It would actually come from the applicants.
From the where?
The applicants.
The
When they
applicant?
apply for their, right, that go before the planning board.
Okay, so they anticipate having at least $3,200 to cover the shortfall.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So is it that,
Basically, if you were to apply to the planning board for a permit or development or whatever, you would pay a fee, which would go into the revolving fund to cover that. And then if they had to do a peer review or voted to do a peer review on that particular project, then you as the applicant would actually pay for that peer review also.
can I just ask, is some of this a little bit skewed because we have no revenue numbers?
Correct.
So the money may be there in the revenue, it just hasn't
Right.
shown up yet.
It hasn't been posted yet, correct.
Okay. Can I go back to page 7? And this is probably a we talked about this last time. COVID-19 wages.
Mm-hmm.
How is that offset again, Ed?
That'll be offset from the CARES Act, both the wages and the expenses.
Now,
That's
when do we get the money?
What's that?
When do we get the grant money? After you submit your report?
Right, exactly. They're right now they're starting to do. They changed it once they extended the CARES Act. They're doing a quarterly report now.
So we'll get reimbursed before the end of the year.
before the end of the fiscal year, correct.
So we submitted, so Ed, we submitted a report at the end of the second quarter, December 31st, and then they're going to pay whatever we have on that. Is that what the expectation is? That they're going to pay whatever we have outlined? Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I know we talked about the police outside detail. That's on page 8. And if I remember correctly, that's a product of getting payment from the respective business organizations. Is that right?
Correct. As the details are worked, we pay the police officers for working the details, and the police department sends out invoices to those vendors, and then they pay us.
Okay.
So if we had a revenue report, you could line these items up and you could see whether or not they're current, but we don't, so we can't.
Right. All right, I guess I'll ask the underlying question. Where are we on the revenue reports?
Trying to find time to catch up. We've got someone working 25 hours in a department that normally has 50 hours of time in it. So slowly but surely, and hopefully once we get a permanent town accountant in there, we'll be able to catch up even faster.
Okay. Do we have any kind of interim report in the meantime?
No, we don't.
I usually just ask Jen today, if there's money in the bank or not. And she's not, if she can sleep at night, I guess she knows the revenue is there. I don't know.
It's there. It's just getting it recorded on the books.
Okay. Let's see. I just had a curiosity question. Man and Meadows Trails, page 10. Do we maintain those during the winter months? That's a bike path, isn't it?
We don't have a
No,
bike path.
it's a hiking path.
There's a bike path that goes right to Coleman Road. Goes between Coleman and, goes all the way into Northampton.
But that belongs to Easthampton. We don't have a bike
That's
path
Easthampton.
yet. On the other side of Coleman Road is where ours should begin, that isn't there.
Right. So what's Man and Meadows Trails then?
Manhattan Meadows Trails is here right off of East Street.
By the library?
Over by the library?
Just past the library, on the same side.
Okay.
And I think what they mean by maintenance is really cutting down trees and things. They don't, and trying to create a path. I don't think they mean that they maintain it, when the snow falls and things like that. There's no walk.
Correct.
You make your own. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least I know now that it's Easthampton Trail and not Southampton Trail.
Well, we're hoping that someday it'll come into Southampton too. So that's what we call our Greenway project.
I don't know if you know that Southampton has a distinction of being the only town, I think, between Connecticut and almost the Cape that disrupts the continuity of the bike path.
Ah,
So we're trying to get it.
page 11, I noticed there was a new item, police cruiser. That I didn't see on there from the 6-month end. So that's the amount that we have spent for the cruiser. That again is going to be offset by the revenue report, probably, right?
Well, that one will be offset by the revenue report. That one is, and I'd have to go back and check just to make sure which one it is, but that would have been the one that was approved as a capital borrowing. And it would have been approved in, trying to think, I think it was approved at the annual town meeting in August. But that was approved as a borrowing rather than as an expense. So that's why you're seeing the negative amount there.
Okay. But the cruiser has been purchased.
It's been purchased and it's here.
Yep. Okay. Pump station. I guess the other thing that I noticed was there were several.
The cruiser was on page 11. I don't.
What?
Trying to find it. What page was it on? The cruiser?
Page 11. It's the third item down.
Third item down.
305, 210.
Okay. Thank you.
I thought there was something else that I had noticed. There were a bunch of items missing. Yeah. Page 4. Get the other page 4. Page 4 from the 1231 compared to the page 4 of the 128. There are several accounts missing, line items. The 1231 starts off with intergovernmental expenses and then has miscellaneous expenses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet the totals are the totals are up $101,000.
Where are you looking again? The bottom of page 3 and page 4?
Yeah, I'm looking at page 4. I'm just comparing. What I did was look at the expense report for period end 1231, compared it to the period end 128.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, they're page by page, but when we compare page 4 last month to this month, there's several line items that just aren't there.
What are they, Ken?
Well, let's see. There's total intergovernmental expenses.
That's on
Page 3.
That's on page 3.
3 line items. Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, so they've been presented elsewhere. Is that what you're saying?
What are the accounts, please?
I've got 15820, and there are two of those, and the 15840, state air pollution, state RMV surcharge, regional transit charge, then goes into miscellaneous expenses.
They're all on page
Yeah,
3.
those three are right at the top of page 4. State air pollution, state RMV surcharge, and regional transit charge.
On the version I have, they're on the bottom of page 3.
Right. Well, I guess what is throwing me is that the format is not the same for this month as it was for last month. That's what's throwing me. So if the numbers are somewhere else, there's been a change in presentation.
Yeah, it looks like the margins were changed. The top and bottom margins of the pages look like it's more narrow compared to previous reports.
But yeah, those line items are there, and they're still under intergovernmental expense.
Okay.
And it could be how it comes out on your printer too, because of mine, they're still on page 4.
Okay. All right, that being the case, I don't have any more. Anybody else have any questions? All right, we'll move on to item 5, review department requests.
And I'll find out about that one account. It's under the assessor's accounts. It doesn't have any name on it. That looks a little strange to me because usually they all have names.
Right. All right, department requests. Are there any?
No, did not
No.
receive any.
All right, personnel requisition form, PRF, for the assistant to the highway superintendent.
And so this is a request to post this vacant position. It has been approved by PPPB. And then the next step is needs approval from the Finance Committee. And then it's on the Select Board agenda for their approval for tomorrow night.
Any questions?
I do have
I have a question at the PBBB, and I have the same question here. That is a huge salary range from 21,000 to 35,000.
Right.
And actually, if you look at the scale, it's off the top of the scale for the grade level. This was graded as a grade 5. So I don't know if it was a mistake.
Ben? Comment?
I wouldn't know. My understanding was Randall had asked the PPPB to take a look at it and score it if it had changed at all. So as far as I know, all that information came right from the PPPB.
I haven't.
And it looks like they attached the scoring from 9/13/2018 when it was done.
Right.
I also have an observation, if I may. That pay scale or that range that's noted on the form is the same range as that's in the compensation study that has not been adopted nor funded. But those are the ranges that are actually in that compensation study.
They may be, as opposed to the schedule that they have been looking at up to now.
Correct. And I went back and I looked through the fiscal year 19 and 20 for historical records. The salary of the previous individual was $17.46 an hour. So that's basically $23,000 a year, which is what was budgeted both in 20 and in 21. So here, if they're asking for $21,950, the low range, the money's in place. However, the $35,000, we would need $14,600 in the key to operate for the next 5 months. I looked at the expense line, and the line number that's there, 056, that's not a correct number. All of our accounts start with 001. So if you look at the admin assistant highway, there's about $9,800 on that line item. And then there's $17,000 in the transfer station. So if we sign this and the individual hired is at the higher rate, we would have to find out, I think it's like $4,800 short. Where is that money going to come from?
Of what
Well,
salary?
We'll follow up for this. This is just allow it to be posted. Then a PR, if once someone is eligible for hire, they have to come back with a PRF. And that's at that point in time, you have to look and say, okay, what are they looking to hire them for? And is that money in the budget?
Okay, so right now, we're not looking at the dollars then for this position. We're not concerned with that. Is that my understanding?
Oh, Finance Committee has to be concerned with it.
Yes.
Well, you have to be,
If I recall,
but that's the range. So obviously, if someone's going to be, if they're looking to hire for somebody over what the previous person was, then it becomes an issue.
if I recall
But you
correctly,
also could be hiring somebody for less than the last person was working at.
if I recall correctly, at the triple PB or PQB or whatever,
Yeah, I know.
however it's identified, the budget number is $17.46.
That's the annual, the hourly rate for the
Right.
previous
So
incumbent.
that the annual number would then be $22,700.
Right. 20,000.
And if you post a job, people want to know what they're going to be paid if they're going to apply for it, don't they?
Well, they would have, yeah.
I think
They know what
But that's the range.
yeah, they
It
know.
also shows them that there's growth in the future.
But if people think they're going to start at $35,000 a year, that's while it's posted, if they have experience, they can be very disappointed. And the fact that it isn't in the budget, there's no way even feasible that can be a consideration.
Right.
Well, I don't understand, Matt. I guess I'm not understanding a pay rate. If an employee is hired, day one, et cetera, at a certain rate, I understood that they do not progress. They don't go to the next step, that the town does not employ that. So I don't understand why there's a pay range to say, okay, you're going to start here, but in 15 years you can end up here if we don't employ those steps. So I'm not understanding why a document is showing a $10 difference from starting to a top range. I don't understand that. And these figures here, where is that in the schedule? I've asked to say, can I have a copy of it so I can understand, to say, okay, if I've got an individual who's a grade 5, here's the actual range for that position. I have yet to see that document. Is there one in existence someone can share with me or with the team?
Yeah. Could be helpful.
Yeah, you would You would have to ask that to get that from the PPP. Have you done that, Mary?
No, well, Ken is on the PPB.
I'm the liaison, but this is the person you want to talk to right here. Glad you came back, Francie.
Now, I went to get my folder. To look at, I think you might be right. They're probably using the schedule for a grade 5 that was in the proposed that was not accepted. It has, not that it was denied, it just wasn't acted on.
And it wasn't funded. It's not funded. So
Right.
I don't understand why it's appearing on documents that's coming forward to the Finance Committee for consideration.
It's
Assistant to Highway, the minimum there was $16.82 an hour to $26.91. So yes, they got these numbers exactly from the proposed,
Right. Yeah.
but not the one that's obviously currently in effect, because those are very different numbers. The range here is very different.
so. From my standpoint, we would be within our limitation to approve anything up to $17.46.
Unless, because the vacancy has been there, there may be a little extra money between, for the remainder of this year that you could offer higher, and then you budget whatever that amount is in next year. But
Right,
you're definitely increasing the budget.
right.
Right. And that's why the PRFs have to come back to be approved again by both the PPPB and the Board of Selectmen to make sure that either it is in range for what, or does it have an impact on next year's budget?
I always feel like we're talking about right hand, left hand, and nobody knows who's holding what. I mean, is there some way we could get a copy of what Francine is, the pay scale, so we know what we're talking about? And it hasn't even been approved, so where's the one that was approved? That kind of thing. I'm new on this, guys, so maybe this is a question.
The one that I'm referring to that people are using was dated 2017. There have been, and I checked with Jen, 2 or 3 years at 2% cost of increases for each of them, but no one has revised. Ed, do you have a revised schedule based on the increases?
No, the only one that has that schedule I know of is the PPPB.
Which one are we talking about? This one that looks like this, Ed? If you look at the screen?
I can't make out what you're holding up, Fran.
One that the PPB uses now. It's a wage classification. The date is April 7th, 2017.
That would be the one then.
Okay. The other one that we're referring to get to this higher number that's in this PRF was done from a study that was presented to the select board in November of 2019, never acted on. It certainly shows, and it has the information of the people's salary at that time, wage at that time. And then it ranked it based on where we fit in compared to other towns for similar positions. I certainly can give you both. I can email them to you.
Well,
Yeah, what I'm seeing is what's attached to this file, and that is that the PPB on 9/13/2018, graded this position at a grade 5, and that's what's on the final job description.
Okay.
Exactly, but what schedule are you using? There's a grade 5 in the one that's been approved, and there's a grade 5 in the other. So we've got that hasn't been accepted.
Well, this should be for the one that they have been using all along.
And it's really off the charts. The maximum for the grade 5 on the existing one, and again, I'm saying it's the data is 2 years. It's a non-exempt grade 5. It goes from $11 an hour to $23.45 an hour. But factor in that we've had a couple of 2% increases between this schedule and now. It's just that this schedule hasn't been adjusted.
And that would sound more reasonable to what's on here, that from the 1682 to the 2691 that was approved by the PPPB.
Well, that's the range that was established. Why aren't we talking about, okay, this has come to the Finance Committee with a range of 1682 to 2691. Our budget limitations are $17.46, so this should be posted. Pay scale salary range 1682 to 1746.
That's what's budgeted. Yeah.
Right. And then if someone wants to know, well, what's my potential? What's the range within which I'm going to be working? You give them 1682 to 2691, but there's no guarantee because it has to be funded.
And it also has to be approved.
Right.
Right.
Well, has the Finance Committee been presented with that material to approve or not approve it? That's what I'm saying. And who has the answer to that?
It sounds like it's been in place for 3 years.
And not approved?
Right, not accepted, yes.
Not accepted.
It wasn't denied, it wasn't anything, it just wasn't acted on.
Right.
I mean, what we could do in the interim is even update those couple of pages that were dated from 2017, factor in those increases and just get that schedule current. That would be useful.
Starting at the 1682.
Right, at 2% and 2%.
Right. Right.
Well, I don't even think it would be as high as 1682 if what Francine's got there is at 11 something.
That was step 1.
Right.
In grade 5. So the range was what I gave you. Yeah. I mean, the whole schedule has to be redone.
Now, who would
Well, it would have to be the range. Basically, what you do from the bottom to the top of the range is you'd go in, and depending on when the last time it was updated, you would take a look at what the cost of living percentage was on a national basis, and then bring it up by those percentages for those years.
Oh, I thought we were doing it by what we gave people, which was 2% and 2%. We gave 2%.
You can do it that way too, because it's pretty darn close to what that was.
All right. So, as I see it, we've got 2 issues here. Number one is range. Is the range that needs to be established by the PB, and then our response to this PRF with a range that's going to start off at the 1682 and go to the 1746.
There's just one correction. I think the range has to, the acceptance of that new schedule that Art presented goes to the select board, not to the people.
No, I think we go back to what they have been using, and that's what needs to be adjusted, and that's the range.
For now, yes.
Yeah.
For now.
Until we get to the point where we can entertain looking at ourselves based on the information that Art gathered, which was good data.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So who can redo that schedule? I mean, whose purview is it in to redo the schedule?
I do.
Well, it's kind of a joint decision between the PPP and the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
It's that human resources officer, Francine.
Yep.
So somebody develops it, then it gets presented to us and we accept it or make adjustments and then it gets voted on. How does it work? I mean, I think it's far overdue. Like I said, we're all new, so this is complicated. I'm going to be quiet now.
Well, that's going to come back to the select board.
Yeah, ultimately, but it's based on, you know,
Correct.
the input of
The-
a number of sources. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And actually, the job posting itself doesn't list any salary or salary range.
What's that?
The job posting itself, which would be the advertisement, doesn't list any salary or salary range in it. That's the second page of package of materials.
Right.
So it's not like we're advertising it out of the 2691 either.
Right. Right. Okay. So the matter of the PRF that's in front of us. What is the? I would make the recommendation that we approve it at 1682 to 1746.
I mean, that's what's in the budget.
Right.
Does it have to be seconded?
Yes.
Making a recommendation, I second.
All right. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, can I hear a vote? Barbara?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Francine?
I
She doesn't vote as a liaison.
Chair is aye. What?
As a select board liaison, she's non-voting.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, sorry.
But
All right,
but you're right. I'm not.
Sorry about that.
I'm on I vote on the PQB. Sorry.
All right. And the chair is aye. All right, Ed?
all right. Thank you.
All right.
Let me know next time you come in to drive, and I'll have you sign the original, Ken.
All right. I'll be there tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And I'll
I saw
email
you out
you.
there today.
And I'll email you, all you folks, those same 2-page schedule. One is for exempt. Ken, you already have it. And the other one is for non-exempt.
Yep.
Thank you, Francine.
Again,
Thanks.
it's all dated information.
Thank you.
All right, 6 is done. Old business. Old business. Town accountant recruitment update. Francine, you want to take that?
Well, yes, we had Zoom interviews of the 2 finalists on Friday evening, and Ken was present for that. We had each of us had developed some questions, submitted them, so that both candidates were obviously asked the exact same questions, and they were given to them in advance. And it was a Zoom meeting open to the public, although I'm not sure we had any. We may have had one spectator, in addition to Ken, who joined in and made some comments and asked some questions, which were really good. What we did is, after interviewing both people, there was one select board member who was unable to be there. Since this was recorded, we are asking that he look at the recorded version, and that I believe we'll be discussing it and perhaps even making a decision tomorrow night at the meeting.
Have you heard back from the other select board person?
No, that he's seen it? No, I have not.
Okay. Okay, any questions?
Will tomorrow's meeting be open to the public, Francine?
Yes,
Regularly scheduled meeting.
yes.
Okay, assistant town accountant recruitment, Ed?
We haven't gotten a lot of responses yet to the assistant position. It would, in my opinion, it would be nice if we had the permanent town accountant at least named so that they could be part of any interview, or so that they could help pick their assistant. So I am hoping that we do get some more applications for this particular position, and that we'll be able to move forward in like 3 or 4 weeks.
And this position is going to provide an additional, was it 20 hours a week resource?
That's correct. Right. Yeah, I mean, usually this position would do the ending of the warrants that Regina's doing now. So and then the town accountant would, check over those. And if the assistant had any questions on them, make a decision on them. But it would free up a good amount of time that Regina's now spending just entering the vendor payable warrants and setting up accounts and whatever. But when that office is fully staffed, the town accountant is 30 hours a week and the assistant town accountant is 20 hours a week.
So in a best case scenario, if the town accountant were fully up to speed, we're running at 60% efficiency. But would you call Regina and her performance presently fully up to speed as a normal town accountant would be? Or how would you classify her? In other words,
there's a definite learning curve there.
yeah.
But I look at it as a simplified form of an office that's fully staffed has 50 person hours in it. Right now it has 24. So I look at it as about 50% efficient right now.
Okay.
And you would have that same learning curve regardless of who held that job, since neither candidate had real municipal accounting experience.
Correct.
I guess what I'm saying is that what I'm trying to identify is that if it was Vicky, if Vicky were still on board and she were looking for an assistant, the difference between what Vicky would provide and what Regina is providing is a difference of 50% that you're saying it. Just to try.
No, I'm just saying in person hours. You're getting into experience.
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, that's the experience that's going to get us.
Yeah. And that's hard to break down.
Yeah. I'm just trying to give everybody a feel for the impact that we're looking at. That's all.
Right.
Can I just add that what Ed is describing is that Regina right now is doing the assistant's job of all the clerical work to get all of this information into these reports.
Right.
Not really being able, if I'm correct, to spend as much time as she would on the functions that Vicky would have had. Am I correct, Ed?
Yes, you're right on.
So she's doing clerical work.
Okay. Any other questions about the assistant town accountant recruitment? Okay, 7C, FY20 closeout update. Ed?
Just about done. We're just waiting for any feedback from the Department of Revenue at this point.
Okay. FY22 budget call. Mary? The question about that?
Yes, at our last regular meeting, Ed had mentioned that notification was going out to the department heads with instructions and the select board priorities, and also the format for the information to be submitted. And I'm wondering, we had asked for a copy of that just for our own edification. So I'm just following up to see when we can get that copy. And also the suspense was the 8th of February, which is today. Wondering how many of the departments have provided their budget input. Have you gotten them all, or there's still some stragglers?
There's some stragglers. They were coming in today right up until closing time. We've got some of the big ones in, like police, some of the big ones like retirement, health insurance. I know libraries in, highway, COA. I'd have to go back and look. I wasn't quite keeping up that they were coming in so quickly today.
So when do you think that the finance committee would start working with the department heads?
Well, I would start at your next meeting of having them come in.
Okay. We don't get any information in advance as to what they're presenting or any of the information prior to actually.
Yes,
I'm sorry, what?
I would send that information along to you.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, they provide the input to you, you're putting together the master spreadsheet, and then our job is to do the validation of those, the data that they're providing, correct? Is that basically it?
Validation and or input, correct.
Okay, all right. Now the instructions, can we get a copy of what was provided to them?
Sure. And my apologies, I thought I had sent that to you.
And I'm just curious as to the select board priorities for this fiscal year 22. Are they enumerated, Francine, as to,
I guess
priority 1, 2, 3?
in our conversation, we ended up, right, Ed, asking for people to submit 2 budgets, right? One
Correct.
with what it is that they needed, and another one was close to level, but not, right? Ed? We didn't go with wish list because that was stratospheric, but what you absolutely needed.
Yeah.
And the second
Yeah.
one was.
Tab 1 is level funded plus contractual increases.
Mhm.
And tab 2, or budget 2, starts at the base level of budget 1. However, it allows them to justify and prioritize any additional funding request needed to run their department.
Priority sequence. So you had mentioned tab 1 is level funded with contract requirements, but I thought the union contracts were all expiring at the end of this fiscal year. So you think that they'll actually have new ones in time to have those figures considered in this budget cycle?
They may, but contractual increases go further than CBAs do. That goes into if we have any contracts,
okay. No,
vendors.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, when you say a contract to me, I'm thinking the union contracts, not the reoccurring service contracts, maintenance contracts, et cetera. Those kind of must pays that departments have. So my apologies, I misunderstood.
No, quite all right.
And then with their putting together.
I think we probably all concentrate on those CBAs because they really do have the potential to be the biggest dollar impact to a budget.
The tab 2 that has the basic level plus the program enhancements. So the prioritized listing that each department is going to be submitting, did the select board indicate what should be like the number 1? Is it pay, COLAs, et cetera? Is that outlined as to, when they're putting together their priorities to make sure that they're in line with the select board sees for the town?
I don't believe it was presented.
I think the COLAs actually fall under the select board's perusal as far as that goes. But we're interested in what those department heads feel is their number 1 priority, number 2 priority, or number 3 priority.
All right. And then when we're looking at those priorities 1, 2, and 3, say for instance, we'll take the cop shop, basically, which is what, $800,000-$900,000. They want to have 10 enhancements to their programs, bringing their budget, say, $400,000 more than they have now. How do we then do an assessment, not knowing what the revenue may be? Are we just going to be looking to see if the numbers match up with, say, for instance, we want additional personnel. We look at the overtime cost to determine is that how you see us doing this?
Well, I think there's 2 pieces of the puzzle. Number one is, do any of those prioritized requests make any sense? And number 2 is, do we have any funding available to do them in the normal means? Second part of that is, do some of these requests make sense, but we don't have funding available to cover them? So shall we look at either using operational stabilization, or do we take a look at doing a Proposition 2.5 override? Those are all options.
Okay. All right. All options. And then how many?
And then the other piece is.
Yeah, that's my question.
Well,
How many department heads are there?
there are 13 department heads, but don't forget we have boards and committees also.
Okay, so we meet with all of them?
You don't have to meet with all of them. Some of them you may look at them and say, okay, you know, they've had $1,000 in their budget, you know, for the previous 3, 4, 5 years. They're asking for $1,000. Again, here's what they do with it. You know, we don't need to meet with that particular board or committee or what have you.
Do you
But
have,
I think the department heads are, I mean, I've had inquiry to me about when they were going to have an opportunity to sit with the finance committee.
Right.
And I think the department heads are looking forward to having that conversation.
But are their requests critiqued anywhere between their submission and their sitting down with us? Does this go, Ed, do you see all of these and make a determination, hey, this makes sense, or no, it doesn't make sense? Or does it just say, thank you? And
Well, I see them all. You know, will I make a decision on some of them before your next meeting? Probably not, but you probably should do the same thing that I do, is just basically take them in for information at this point in time and make your notes. And that's the same thing I'm going to do.
So when they present them, do we have a copy of what they had last year? So that we can compare?
Yes. Yeah. And in fact, I think there's probably I think there's like 6 fiscal years on it.
okay.
Per department?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, they want the opportunity to talk and maybe explain what their needs are to you. But ultimately, after all the budgets are in, I think you'll sit and you'll see what it is that we can and can't. You're not going to necessarily make decisions with each individual at their meeting. It's once you get the whole picture, and then you'll look at things and make your recommendations based on what the projected revenue is and what we can and can't do.
Right. And a typical year, we'd probably have somewhere between $280,000 and $400,000 of new revenues available.
So if I could just recommend that maybe you think about putting together a schedule of meetings when they could join here, you know, a couple at a time, a couple a night or something scheduled, and you could work your way through the departments that way.
Yeah, I'd probably say shoot for about three per meeting.
I think that means a little more meetings.
Well, usually the finance committee would at least go to meeting every 2 weeks at this point in time.
I don't know. This seems like, to me, based on my experience, there's a big step missing here. You know, you've got department heads who run their departments, know what they need, know what their deficiencies are, and they come to a financing source to get their requests approved. That doesn't make sense. To me, the process should be they report to, Ed, if I'm wrong, let me know. Those departments all report to you.
Not all of them.
No?
But I kind of look at it this way. I look at it that a good amount of them report to me and the select board. So, well, I'll say the finance committee doesn't necessarily put the budget together and make the, and make the total recommendation. It should be a process worked through with both the select board and the finance committee to try to get both on the same page. And what we're trying to do is, rather than having two totally opposite ends of the spectrum, is there may be some discrepancies or disagreements, but we're looking for those to be minor. In my mind, it's both it's really the select board's final judgment of what to move forward to the town meeting, but that select board is also looking for input from the finance committee of, okay, do you also think that this makes sense both programmatically and financially to the town?
Can I just say that that the finance committee, not you, it's now, I'm part of this, meets with the departments and works through the budget with them, gets an understanding, really hashes details and gets that level of detail to support their request. And at the end of all of this, we make a recommendation to the select board that they may or may not accept. But Ed's right. You don't have to put together the whole budget. You're just going to go through each of these
just
budgets.
Portion. That's all we're doing is just that portion. Okay.
Right. And make recommendations, because honestly, I mean, the level of detail that you folks will have is going to be far and above what the select board is going to have, because you're going to know what's in that expense line. We just see expenses and a number. You will have had that discussion about what are the components of that expense line and understand, how important it is or how valid it is, or can we do things another way? I mean, looking for some of your insight into helping produce their budgets and finalize them before they come up, not just to the select board, but ultimately it goes to the town. The town ultimately is the votes on the budget.
Since we don't know who the...
And along the way, I'll tell you what I'm thinking, and I might even tell you that, okay, here's one option, and here's another option. If we go with with option 2, it means we have to put additional funds in, to make these things happen. But, this is the benefits of utilizing that extra funds or extra revenue. And, does that make sense to move forward in that direction?
I think your opinion is going to be very important to us.
But if we're seeing it piecemeal, if you will, by sections, then how do we make the recommendation to use operating stabilization money or do an override, et cetera, if we're only seeing at that time just that portion versus the entire 6 functions of the town government? Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I think you'll see the whole budget.
Right.
Once all of it's worked through.
You're just going to go through it a chapter at a time and we'll come to the end, and then that's where we put everything together from what we've been through. We may be in a position that, we don't look at anything in budget number 2 unless we're going to use, if we want a level funded budget and not to use any operating stabilization or, or to even think about a Proposition 2.5 override.
Now, can we get a listing of the department heads? You had mentioned there's 13 of them.
Sure.
Okay. So get a name, etc.
I can do that.
And can we
Yeah.
reach out to those department heads and ask for, besides just their budget, can we reach out to them to get additional information? Because I'm particularly interested in to see what their manpower is, what their manning is, whether they have overtime costs, et cetera, what their contracts are, their mandatory must pays, because that would help when we actually, from my perspective, when we get the Excel spreadsheet to see, a line item for that, well, we can understand this is what their requirements are.
But that's where it comes between their justifications and them coming to you and meeting with you. I think that's where you'll get a better understanding of what the cost drivers are here.
I like to have the information in advance before they come and sit, so I can absorb the information and then be able to, ask some intelligent questions when they're here. To have it presented.
I'll send you everything that they have sent in with their package.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to have things ahead of time so we're not trying to read it while we're trying to decide on it,
Yeah, and it'll come ahead of time too.
Makes sense.
So can we identify timeline again? You've received all the input from all of the department heads?
Not all of them as of yet, but a good amount of them. So, I would suggest you schedule a meeting in 2 weeks, and I will send you the information from 3 of those departments, and we'll schedule them for that meeting. And then we'll do the same thing in the other 2 weeks.
When's the drop dead date that we really
Yeah, I
need
was
to
just going to say that.
these with the numbers?
Right.
I'll go back and take a look. My memory is it's the end of March, beginning of April. End of
That's not
March.
enough time. That's not enough time for 13 departments.
Well, if you're doing 3 an evening, that would basically be 5. Yeah, that would be 5 meetings. So we might have to take it up to 4 meeting.
We really don't have a handle on what we're what we're going to be looking at.
Exactly.
Ed, when's the annual town meeting?
It is depending on what COVID does with it, it is usually the first Tuesday in May.
It's the 4th of May.
First Tuesday in May. And has it ever been extended aside from COVID?
No. Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So the gun is there.
And the budget has to be posted, right, a week before the meeting.
Right.
Correct.
Is there, how soon can we get the 3 or 4 departments that we're going to have sit with us next or 2 weeks from now?
Chair
I should be able to put them together and send them out to you Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay.
Chair Cole. Chair,
Yes.
if Ed has the submissions from the departments and he's not doing anything with them other than the receipt, can we receive everything that he has received to give us more time to look at these, these various submissions from these various departments versus waiting for a schedule and getting the documents a week before? the meeting. I'd like to receive everything that's been received to date so we can start looking at these now.
And that way you could probably plan your schedule once you see how complex some of them are
Right.
or simple.
Mhm.
Yep. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, I can do that.
How quickly?
For all of them, probably Thursday or Friday.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much.
And you'll,
And
You're welcome.
and you'll also send the guidance along to Ed?
The what?
The guidance instructions that were sent to the department heads, could we also get a copy of that? Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
can I suggest, here's the other thing, that you work out your schedule now. You don't have to plug it, but you know, with who you're going to see. But if among ourselves, we can decide on the dates that we can meet and then backfill with the individuals once you get all of the budgets. Does that make sense? Because we have to allocate the time one way or another, and
Right.
it's not a lot of time left.
And I can set up the Zoom information for all of them too.
All right, so as of Thursday or Friday, we can, well, Thursday, we can assume to get whatever you have.
Sure.
All right.
Just a thought, if we're going to meet with these people and there's 13 departments, plus you said there were other committees or whatever, Ed, would it be practical or mindful or the right thing to do to set up a separate meeting just for these people?
That's pretty much what these meetings are going to be.
Okay. Okay.
Well, if we get all the documents, everything that Ed has received to date on Thursday, we can look at scheduling our first one on the 22nd. If people are available for that Monday, the 22nd, we can, look at the submissions and see, how detailed they are, how complex, and then decide which 3 we would be able to squeeze in on that Monday. And I don't know if we want to look at, a Wednesday of that week, or if we want to stay with a Monday schedule.
I just speak from I was on the finance committee years ago, but there were times when we were at this point in the year, probably meeting once a week.
Well, I was thinking doing twice a week if people have availability.
That's even better.
But if we can get the data that's all there right now, then we can look at it and then decide what the schedule is.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what are we proposing?
First go around on the 22nd, but that's Washington's birthday. Does that affect anyone? I don't know if that's a holiday.
No, the Monday before the 15th is.
Oh, 15th is, okay. Well, the 22nd of February?
Yep, it's fine with me.
Me too.
Do you want, if we do 3 on that Monday, depending on which 3, we'll take a combination of them. Do you want to look at that Wednesday, the 24th, to do another go-round?
Yeah, I think it all depends on how we fare on 22nd with those 3. Whether we're biting off more than we can handle.
If we get
Tentatively speaking, yeah, I would say put it down for.
If we get the budget submissions this Thursday, we can look at all of them and then divvy them up to say, okay, we've got 2 easy ones and 1 more detailed.
Right.
And get them through that way.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Sounds good, I think.
Okay, Ed, ball's in your court.
Okay.
In your spare
So
time,
I set
Ed.
up meetings for the 22nd and the 24th, correct?
Yeah, those would be the meetings, but, and we'll get our first package from you this Thursday.
Sure. Now, do you want to set up anything for the week after that?
Well, Mary's proposing the 24th.
The 22nd and the 24th.
Right.
You want to look at the
Didn't
first?
know if you want-
Do you want to look at the 1st and the 3rd?
As opposed to the 24th? Or
No, in
In
addition.
addition, because we've got to get through people.
Right.
And then we can look at all the budgets and decide which ones, plug in the dates.
Mhm.
The
If
first
if
and
you
the,
scheduled 4 meetings, you'd have 12 departments covered. If you did 3, on average, 3 a night.
yeah,
And then it gives you time to collab, just to put all your thoughts together and make your recommendations.
3-1 and
more night for 3, 4 is a 12. So we need 1 more night to,
Yeah.
so you got 3-1 and 3-4. Is that what you said?
Hey, wait a minute. 22, 24, and then the 1st and the 3rd of March, are those the
1st
two
and
ones?
3rd.
1st and 3rd, okay.
First and third?
All right, 22, 24, 1, 3. Don't need it.
And then we have our regular meeting on the 8th.
So we're doing 4 a night? Or 3 a night?
We could do 3 a night. But let's look at how detailed they are and how much they're asking.
Right.
Because we have to look at 2 budget submissions, 2 scenarios.
And then we can judge from that if we want to like add another day or whatever.
Yep. All right, so the 22nd, the 24th of January, and then the 1st and 3rd of March.
Yeah, February, March.
I mean, of February, sorry.
Yeah. That'll give you a good start.
And then the 8th is our regular scheduled one.
Right. And this has all got to be posted by April 1st.
April 1st? So do you have an actual
No.
timeline?
No, it doesn't have to be posted, I'm sorry. Finance to provide, Finance Committee has to come back to the Select Board by April 1st.
Now, where is that information, Ken? What are you reading from?
That's the town budget process that I sent out. That I got from
Oh, okay.
Francine, that was approved back in January 16th of 2018.
And we have to go back by what date did you say, please?
1st of April?
April 1?
Yeah.
April Fool's Day? Aha. They're kidding.
April Fool's Day.
Right.
So that, the April 1st,
For the Finance Committee to provide its budget recommendations to the Select Board.
okay, that means the entire budget, right? Not the individual ones?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Anything else in that regard?
That's enough.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah,
Yes,
That's enough.
absolutely.
let's move along. Annual town audit scheduling. Mary, I think that was your item too.
Right, Ed had mentioned that it tentatively scheduled February end of February, early March. Just wondering if there's any update on that.
I haven't heard, so thanks for reminding me. I will check with the auditors.
No surprise audits, huh?
No surprise audits, no. It's actually so much work, and they've gotten pretty good over the last couple of years. Is they actually will send us a list of stuff they're looking for before they get here. So that starts it off pretty well.
Okay. Annual town report. Guidance.
Ed mentioned that Judy, his administrative assistant, was in charge of the annual town report and was going to send out the call for the inputs along with the instructions. Just wondering if that's going to be coming anytime.
Did you receive them?
No.
Yeah, she sent them out about 2 weeks ago.
Haven't received anything.
So, okay, I will check on the one for the finance committee then.
Bylaws didn't get it either.
What's that?
I said bylaws didn't get it either.
Okay.
So we should have received it when?
2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago.
Didn't use the post office, did you?
No, she sends them out electronically. But she could have an old email that she sent it to also, so I will double check on that.
Maybe it's in our email inbox.
One that's full?
Yeah.
It's not full anymore.
Thank you, Ed.
Oh, you're welcome. And it's funny. I never realized that they actually sent them to the actual email address. Also, I just figured that I was the only one that got the notice.
Huh. Oh, that reminds me. Thank you for changing the names on the web page for the finance committee, but there is still one change that needs to be added. It's got Barbara as being the chair. I mean, that's fine with me, but I'm sure he doesn't like that.
Ouch.
Okay.
You can see I haven't looked at it.
Okay. Norris School Committee meeting recordings, Mary?
At our last regular meeting, Ed indicated he was going to follow up with the committee and/or legal to see what the outcome is regarding the recordings, since Norris School at the beginning of their meetings basically say they're recording it, but it's for meeting minutes purposes only, and they're going to destroy the video. My question was, well, if it's available, why don't they post it, send the fee to Easthampton Media, so if you're not able to make the meeting, you have an avenue to go and watch it later on. Because right now it's either you attend the meeting virtually or you're out of luck. So I was wondering if there was any response back from either the committee or legal with regards to recordings and, destroying them after, they do their minutes.
Yeah, the committee itself has taken it up a couple of times, and they still vote not to post them. I did check with legal, and there is not a requirement to post them. You could, however, probably get around that as long as it's those they haven't produced the minutes and destroyed them as of yet. You could ask as under the public records law for a copy of that recording.
Did the committee say why they are, I don't want to say reluctant, but that they do not want to have the video posted where it's available for anyone to view later on? Did they share any insight?
There's just a majority. Yeah, it's just a majority of the committee at this point in time that doesn't want to have them posted up. I don't know why.
And that's true for every committee, Ed?
That they don't have to post them?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, we're in a town and we're trying to support our town and do the best we can. And the only way we can do the best we can is to be well informed. So I think that someone should go to the school and say, hey, how about it? We need to have the information. We can't all be there. I mean, what's wrong with being civil to each other?
I guess they're thinking you could rely on the minutes.
That's just it. The minutes aren't posted timely. So there's a lag time. They actually, if you, when I was first assigned as the liaison to Norris for 2020 going into 21, not one minutes were not uploaded at all to My Town Government, not one. So how do you find out and be prepared for a meeting when there's no information? I understand about asking for it. And, they got 10-day turnaround to get it to you. But, if it's readily available and you have you have My Town Government available to you, you have Easthampton Video available to you at no extra cost, why wouldn't you avail yourself of that opportunity? It just doesn't make sense to me.
No.
But so the town doesn't even have a formal policy or an informal policy about posting information on. There's nothing like that.
No.
No?
There is not.
Okay.
That's one of the things I'm also on the bylaws committee, and one of the things that we have already drafted, and we did send it out last year, I think in March, COVID just hit, so we really didn't get much response, but we did put some guidelines together that we thought for the operation of and participation on committees and boards here in town. And I do believe that there was something there about the length of time between the meeting and the time the minutes are made available. But I think it is, to some extent, the state does give discretion, right, Ed? That they don't have to post, they just have to be made available. And by that means you can go to the town clerk and ask for them from them. They may not be available on the website. Am I right?
You're correct, but another little twist is they don't necessarily even have to be filed with the town clerk's office, so.
Wow. But they have to be made available.
But they have to be made available.
Out of the blue.
Yeah, whether it's posted on the town website, whether they are filed in the town clerk's office, or you actually have to go to that board or committee to get them. They have to be available.
Yeah.
As far as minutes go.
Okay, so we're good on that?
No. Nothing we can do about it.
All right, new business. I think we've already covered 8A.
Well,
FinCom budget, or is you have something else?
well, yes, I was going to, we didn't get the request for our input for 22. So, do we need to vote on the annual membership dues, and do we need to discuss the reserve account, whether we want to have funds available in there? So when those big ticket items like the fire truck repair, which is unforeseen, that they can actually come to the finance committee and ask for the 4,000 versus just having a new line item added to the expense report and then wait till the end of the fiscal year to do money moves.
Well, you've got your own budget, which has got the $200 in it, which I think I'll have to go back and look. I think the annual dues are 180 of that $200. So you do have that particular portion to discuss what you're going to do or request out of that. And then The other piece is reserve fund. And filling it in on the town-wide piece. If the fund stayed there, in some years it's been cut, just depending on.
You're breaking up.
And the budget year is a good practice to have money in that reserve fund and consider what a decent amount might be. And like I said, it may not all funded this coming up, but I would like to see it start getting built back up again, that's for sure.
So should we wait till we get the budget request letter from you so we put it in the proper format?
Yeah, and like I say, I'll send you an electronic form with the 2 tabs in it. I'll just have to go back and I think it's in the town-wide one, which I usually, well, yours won't be. The finance committee one won't be. So I'll send you that with the letter and the instructions.
Okay.
So Chair Cole, do you want to discuss the 2 items or wait till we get the input and Rachel is present so we can discuss?
Yes, the latter.
Latter, okay.
Yeah.
I'll add it to old business for the next regular meeting.
Okay. All right. Number 9, any other business? Hearing none. Number 10, liaison reports. Barbara, you attended the Hampshire Regional School?
Yes, I did. They went from 7:30 to 9:43, so they were very thorough. I have copious notes. Matt Rowan was very involved and talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, I have to say that I'm familiar with schools because I worked at Holyoke High School and I was department chair. And so I understood what they were talking about, but there's so much stuff to cover. One of the things was if you are doing a video, why not show it? Why not share it so other people can be involved and know what's going on? There was just like I say, I did see it. I don't know what else. Tammy was there. Matt Rowland was there. There were people I recognized and many people I didn't. But there's so much stuff to go through. I don't know, unless somebody asks a specific question, what could I share? Except that I was very impressed with the meeting, and I think they should share the video so other people could kind of listen. Any specific questions, I'll try to answer.
Was there any discussion as to when the budget will be up for vote?
The budget for 2022 is 640,000 increase. That's kind of what they're suggesting, I think. And it depends on the enrollment because that fluctuates. And also there was quite a bit of talk about special ed kids coming and going and how that affects the budget. So I have a figure here that says operating budget 152 million question mark. I'm not quite sure why. Like I said, they covered an awful lot of stuff that I could have used a sheet to figure what I should have written down. Because the Hampshire Regional is a regional school, there were other people represented from other school areas. So that was confusing because, again, I didn't know all the players. So it took me a while to figure out, well, who's this person for? But anyway, I recognized, like I said, a couple of people. They talked quite a bit of that circuit breaker was about the money they get for the special ed school. It's external funding, and it's quite flexible because of kids coming in and out of the program.
So the final budget, though, will be available when? Did they say, or is it?
Let's see if I made a note. Let's see.
And that's an important budget because it's the largest portion,
It is the largest.
the town's resources.
Yeah, it is.
Correct.
Yeah, it says 64% of our budget is the school budget. The strong advocate for. I didn't have a date as to when they would submit it.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll go back and look. They're required to turn it in by a certain date, and I'll check on what that date is by Mass General laws.
Okay.
You know that if they pass it, we have to accept it.
Really?
Town meeting can vote it down, but it has to go forward from the school committee to town meeting. It just goes through our hands, so to speak.
So if the Hampshire Regional School Committee approves the budget, we have to accept those figures, and then it's only at the town meeting that they can vote.
Can accept it or reject it, right?
Oh.
Correct.
And because there's what, 3 other schools at area schools, 5?
Four other towns, and if
5. Oh.
yeah, and even if our town meeting rejects it and the other 4 town meetings accept it, we have to accept it.
Yeah, it was complicated.
Okay. Any other questions about Hampshire? I guess I would comment that I attended the PQB, and among other things, we did deal with that PRF for the assistant highway superintendent. And on an ongoing basis, are going through the personnel policy rules and regulations and making changes there too. A lot of that has been done prior to my being on the board, or on the committee, I should say. And they provided a list of some of the pending items, pending changes that are going to be proposed to be made, but it's on an ongoing review basis at present. And then I also attended the select board special meeting that we talked about earlier about the interviews for the 2 finalists. And I guess, there was one other issue about the disability insurance proposal, right, Francine?
Right.
Which is,
Yeah, that's coming up tomorrow night. There'll be a presentation by the insurance company that made the proposal. And the PQB is joining that meeting
yes.
to hear the presentation.
Any questions on those? Right. Number 11, any other pressing business that can't wait till the next meeting?
You want to hear about Norris?
Is that an item?
Liaison report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yep.
I'm used to it now, Ken. This is the second time.
Don't take it personally, Mary.
I just don't take it personally. Okay. The North School Committee regular meeting was held on January 27th. Principal's report shows enrollment is currently at 452. That's an increase of 3 from last month. The budget update was given by the district business administrator. Fiscal year 21 second quarter budget report and internal line item transfers totaling $81,000 were presented and approved by the school committee. The detailed budget report was provided to each of the FinCom members. Overall, 43% spent as of December 31st, 2020. They are closely monitoring the charter school tuition deficit of $92,262 and vocational tuition deficit of $177,400. They also provided a grant status update. Coronavirus relief funds, $102,375, all expensed. Remote learning technology grant, $118,630, all expensed. CARES grant, $30,315, all expensed. The town's CARES Act funding reimbursement of $49,591 for remote learning technology upgrades has been reported. They're waiting for the numbers on the synchronous learning. That was $117,000. $15,000 for PPE has been ordered by the custodial staff. The fiscal year 22 budget timeline, the regional budget will be done first, then the elementary school. Document available for discussion in late February, early March. Select board liaison recommended having the operating budget ready sooner rather than later to provide a reasonable review period for the FinCom and the select board. The school committee voted to send communication to our select board requesting reimbursement from the town's stabilization capital account for the iWaves filter installation. That cost is $41,000. I did follow up with the district business administrator regarding possible HVAC funds from the second stimulus bill. She advised that full details of the ESSER, that's the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Part 2 monies, have not been received. She thinks that additional information will be received in time for the next committee meeting. And oh, by the way, no regular meeting has been scheduled as of yet. On the Capital Improvement Committee, no committee meetings have been held or scheduled. I'm hoping that maybe Francine can give me a good contact that I can reach out to get some information with regards to what's the 5-year plan, what projects have been received this fiscal year, et cetera, so we can be prepared when we start getting, the capital program. And that's all I have to say.
And repeat that committee again you're looking
It's the
for?
capital improvement committee.
Yeah. All right, I'll communicate that to Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
All right, we did any other pressing pending items. Hampshire Regional High School Committee Liaison. Barbara, you were gracious enough to appear at this most recent meeting.
Not knowing what I was doing once again, but
Are you willing to continue in that vein?
I would do it. And Mary, I'm going to ask for your outline so that I know what to look for the next time, kind of ish. That's what I need. Thank you. And I don't think there isn't. Will they let me know when they have a meeting, or do I have to inquire? Hampshire Regional.
I'm not sure.
Hey, Barbara, I'll talk to you offline to help you get set up with that committee.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for volunteering, Barbara. Again. All right, that being said, our next scheduled meeting, based on what transpired this evening, would be February 22. Same time, same station, 5:30. Does that work?
Yep. I'll list them all.
Okay. So February 22, February 24, March 1, and March 3.
And then your regular one on March 8th.
Yeah,
Correct.
all at 5:30.
Right.
And Ed's going to send us all that information Thursday.
Correct.
Right, Ed?
I will.
Yay!
In your spare time, Ed.
Yeah.
I'm going to change this from water to you know what as soon as we get out of here.
All right, thank you. So entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Moved,
I move.
seconded, okay.
Who seconded? Ken, who seconded?
Barbara did.
Oh, Barbara, thank you, Barbara.
All right, moved and seconded, all in favor? Barbara,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
here I. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.
Good night,
Stay
everybody.
safe, everyone.
See you again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.